we'll get going. I know a number of the great names on the screen, so welcome to all of you. Those who haven't met me before, my name's Andrew Knight, CEO of Outdoors Victoria. So thanks very much for being here today. I've got my assistant along for the ride from Outdoors Victoria too, Luke Parker. So Luke, if you'd like to say hello to everyone.
Hello everyone, hope you're all well.
Thanks very much, Luke. And Luke does a whole lot of work around the outdoors, including with lecturing and tutoring at Australian Catholic University at 2 Victorian campuses. And Luke will be looking after our chat today and just making sure that we're on time and looked after when it comes to any particular questions and answers. Thanks very much everyone for staying on mute when it's not your time to chat. If you do need to chat, please just flick it through on chat that you'd like to ask a question. Of course, if you'd also just like to type any question into chat feature, Luke Parker from Outdoors Victoria will also look after that, and I'll keep checking back with Luke. So we've got a number of guests today, so it's fantastic to welcome. We've got Laurie Modd from Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. So good morning, Laurie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Thank you very much for being here, and sadly not under such joyful circumstances, and you'll obviously fill us in on that, and we'll see if there's anything more that we can all do to help. So thanks, Laurie. We've also going to have joining us a little bit later on Jamie Bennett across from Outdoors WA, CEO over there, and we'll round out the day with a catch up with Jared Parsons from Parks Victoria. So thanks, Jared, very much for being there this morning. Appreciate it. Welcome everyone. I think we've got most people here this morning. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we all work and live, as well as the outdoor natural spaces we enjoy. For my family, we live in Eltham. These custodians are the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and I recognise their continuing connection to land, water, community, and I offer my humble respect and thanks to elders past, present and emerging. And also we acknowledge the many lands that we all sit on today, because we're up at Buffalo, we're over there in New South Wales, we're over in WA, so we're spread right across the country today. So thank you all very much for being here today. Really there's been a fair development yesterday that was announced by Deputy Premier Merlino, and standing by the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, around the announcement that at the very least we can have regional Victorian schools when they return to face-to-face learning on the 5th of October and soon after, depending on the school and the requirements that need to go with that, that they can also go back on camp and obviously engage in related outdoor activities. So that was some promising news for all of us. There's been a whole lot of teamwork in the background to let everyone know. There's been a huge amount of cooperation with the other state peaks. So thank you, Laurie and Jamie that are on the call from WA and Outdoors New South Wales and ACT today. A number of you on the call have also been helping out with that advocacy. And there's been a lot of work that we've been doing also with the Australian Camps Association to make that a reality. And so we're involved in engaging with a lot of the media to make sure that as many people as possible across the whole community could discover this, and hopefully start to look forward to going back on camp and obviously chatting to their teachers and principals and everything else to encourage that to happen. So there was page 13 of the Sun yesterday ran a picture and a story, as well as ABC radio across Victoria had a lot of the bulletins, and the Age ran an online story around the time of the press conference with the Premier and Deputy Premier to announce it. So trying to get the word out to general community that is going to occur. Of course, I'm one of the first to acknowledge that there's not going to be a total switch back on of the whole sector. There's obviously a whole lot of spool up that needs to go on to get a number of the organisations and businesses back to anything towards normal. But it's a step in the right direction. We obviously wanted to be able to create a little bit more certainty for the businesses, all the people involved in those businesses, and even the financiers of a number of those businesses too were starting to go, well, you can't even show me that you've got 2/3 of your business coming from schools, but schools aren't even permitted to be doing business with you at the moment. So I hope that has been a small amount of help, and we're obviously positioning any kind of communication with any communication we do ourselves or in the media, or with the relevant departments and ministers, that there's quite a bit to go when it comes to the 5 million of the population that are still locked down in Greater Melbourne. And it's promising to hear Dan Andrews yesterday talk about catching up with all of us on his Sunday press conference to shed a bit more light on what's going to happen in that situation. And obviously the papers are all over that, that could open up quite a lot earlier, as early as early October, but more like mid-October, which would obviously be a positive thing. What I might do is I can see that there's a couple of pieces in chat. I'm also mindful I need to get to Laurie at Outdoors New South Wales in a minute. So Luke, I might just see if you need us to address any of those particular items before we go any further.
No specific questions, just people saying hello and just having a bit of a chat, but no specific questions as such yet.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks, Luke. A little bit more to go, as I said. Definitely encourage us to have a bit of a chat towards the end about particular challenges that you see. We've also put out a bulletin last night sharing again to our subscribers that the Australian Camps Association has done a whole lot of work on a COVID safe plan. So the Queensland government put out a fantastic one a little while ago, and had Queensland Outdoor Recreation Federation, which is our sibling up in Queensland, do a whole lot of work on that one. And so they've kindly been able to share a whole lot of IP with Australian Camps Association. We're obviously flat out on a whole lot of advocacy and communication. So Australian Camps Association has done a great job on that COVID safe plan. So dial back into your bulletin from last night. If you don't have that, what I'll do is I might get Luke, who I'm pretty sure would be receiving the bulletin, to just copy and paste the Australian Camps Association COVID safe link into the chat.
Yeah, I can paste that in now.
Fantastic. So I think I'm sure everyone's got some COVID safe plans in motion. but this is obviously a moving feast. So there'll be some, that's very up to date. So that was released by Australian Camp Association on Thursday for camps, retreats and outdoor providers. So there'll be a whole lot of relevance in there with the capacity that we've got currently. We've got to be realistic as to what we can accomplish soon around that, but we'll definitely get to have a look at that over the next couple of days. And if there's particular things that need to be highlighted for outdoor providers themselves that we don't think's quite appropriately addressed, we'll see if we can get a tweak to that. And Luke just put that link in chat if you want to paste it back into your emails or something like that to be able to have a look at that later on. I think that'd be really useful. And we really thank Australian Camps for getting that done. So I think at the moment we might go across to Laurie Mott, who's the CEO of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT, just to see how everything's going up in New South Wales and ACT. So welcome, Laurie, and thanks very much for being here this morning for the next 17 minutes. I know you've got to go again.
Yeah, pleasure, Andrew, and thanks again for inviting me. Although I really don't want to talk because it's so different to everywhere else in the country right now, and it's been one hell of a journey, and I feel like every time we stumble across an opportunity, we hit another brick wall. So the update in New South Wales and the ACT is that we still haven't been able to get camps back with schools. Although, amazingly, which is very different to yourself in complete opposites, is that we can access private bookings over school holidays. We can accept Duke of Ed if they come direct to our facilities, and they can run their programs in as of next week. So, and they're happening, which is ironic considering that the Department of Education and the Department of Health have indicated that we are not safe for schools. So we are still in negotiations, still in discussions, trying to get some sense and to see that even if we take the approach that Victoria's taken. So thank you for doing what you have, because I've been able to leverage what you guys have achieved to say, even if you look at regional resumption, that would certainly help. The industry is really on tenterhooks, as you'd imagine. We've estimated that there's probably 6,000 jobs that potentially will go if we don't resume before February next year. So it's not pretty. We've got the Small Business Commissioner on our side and certainly trying to push it from that angle. Even Department of Education are really understanding of us that it's really resting with health right now. And not taking anything away from ACA, they've done a great job with that COVID plan. That was actually the makings of what we started with our state in getting a COVID safe plan to the Department of Health like Queensland did, and to try to get them to approve that. It's still sitting with Department of Health, so we haven't been able to progress that, but we've used a very similar template to what ACA has provided yourselves, Andrew. So look, that's the update from that side of things. The good side of our state, I think, is that most of the activities that aren't school-based are definitely back and actioning. We've got a lot of activity going here from a peak body to support the industry in capacity building and getting back to opportunities that exist. But needless to say, if we just got the school camps back, we'd be in a much better position. We've got Small Business Month coming up here in New South Wales. I'm not too sure if Victoria do a similar thing, but as I've said to Queensland, I'm more than happy for anyone in any other state to take advantage of what we've got on offer. We've got free workshops specific to small businesses during that month that are outdoor businesses. So we've got 4 free sessions, which will start with Paul Wade, ex-Guru captain, on the 7th of October, and we're ending with a bang with the ex-vice president of Disney World coming to address us on leading teams. So that's on the 30th of October. The 2 in between are on digital and social, and the other one is on making informed decisions in a small business. So please jump onto either our Facebook or our website. You can register for all 4, totally free. There are maximum numbers, so get in quick because, yeah, it'll be a great opportunity for anyone in the outdoor sector just be informed more. But other than that, I'm welcome to take any questions, and yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Laurie, very much. And just on those workshops, so how can everyone have a look at what they are and potentially register?
I will put the link into the chat right now for you, if I can beat link to it. And that way you can just register. But literally there's 4 different registrations on that link. So if you go down, you can see there's 4 different ones. They've got different webinar links, because they're obviously different webinars hosted by different people. So don't just register one thinking that you can do all 4. You need to register for each one, and you can choose the ones that best suit you. They're all different days, but they're all at 9 a.m. Sydney, Melbourne time.
Wow, Laurie. Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much also for the update. And I'm glad that there's something that can come out of what's happened down here that can hopefully help schools go back up there.
Absolutely. It's certainly given me an opportunity to leverage what you've managed to achieve, and we're certainly getting a lot more notice, which is great. So thank you. And like I've always said, ACT will follow if New South Wales make the call. So yeah, it's getting the ducks in line.
What I might do too is just, we've got a direct line into one of the COVID safe leaders at the Department of Jobs Precincts and Regions. And so we might go in there and just see if there's got to be some interstate liaison between our health service and your health service. So amazing. Because it's been just very topical in Victoria, there's obviously, you know, and Pete Griffiths and I checked in with 2 of those sort of chief health officer personnel yesterday on a meeting that was organised by that DJPR person.
Great.
So we might just see, because it is topical, to see if they can just, if they're already liaising with New South Wales anyway, on other topics, that they just can sort of share them on what were the thought processes behind it, and see if there's any kind of solace that can be, and counsel that can be provided to the New South Wales counterpart.
Thank you. And I do have an apology to make to Victoria. In all of our efforts with the publicity that we've been achieving, we've had some great publicity around our issue, but also some proactive publicity. And on the weekend, we managed to get a full page spread in Stella magazine, which is a federal magazine. Unfortunately, they refused to put in a Victorian camp, so I'm sorry. But we did get coverage in Queensland, South Australia, and New South Wales and ACT. And I'll have to apologise to Jamie as well. But yeah, they wouldn't put a Victorian one in, even though I asked for one. So apologies for that.
You can only ever try, and you're definitely trying, Laurie, so thank you. Now, I might just check with Luke to see if there's anyone who'd like to have a chat to Laurie, and I invite anyone just to whack their name into chat now if they'd like to ask Laurie a question. That'd be wonderful.
Perfect. Nothing coming through yet, but happy to wait a little bit longer to see if any other questions pop up. We do have some questions about some other components once we go through any questions directed for Laurie.
For sure. I don't know, I can't see, I'll just see if I can see Jamie from WA too. As said, he's probably just making his breakfast over there in WA. So we'll probably just
got up.
Yeah, that's right, poor thing. So we might just leave him for a little later on too.
I've got something to mention.
Go for it, Mr. Chitty.
Okay, every Friday evening at 4 o'clock, there's Laurie hosts a happy hour for the whole of the outdoor industry in the country, and there's no structure. You can just come and talk and chat about how to reopen, issues, safety, anything that comes to your mind, and some really good ideas have come out of the Friday night happy hours. And
crazy ones too, Dave.
Crazy ones too, but it's a good opportunity to chat in an informal environment. So
thanks, David, very much. And yeah, good call out.
Yeah,
Thank
again,
you,
if you
Laurie.
want to join that, there's a link on our Facebook events page for Outdoors New South Wales, but I can send it through to Luke if you want, and you can send it to whoever is interested.
Perfect. That sounds lovely too, Laurie. Thank you very, very much. Now, Luke, looks like we're okay to potentially let Laurie go soon. You're, of course, very welcome to stay, Laurie, but I understand you've got other engagements.
Yeah, I do. Thanks, guys, and apologies, I do have to race. I'm literally in backs-to-backs till 8:30 tonight, so I wish you all the best, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Laurie, and I'll come back to you too on that other bit. Thanks very much, Laurie.
All right, take care.
Great. So, Luke, we might revert back to you, sir.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different questions coming through. So just wondering, we've got the advice through regarding school camps, but just does OV have any specific contacts with independent schools to see if that advice will be potentially followed from not just the DET schools, but also maybe Catholic and independent schools as well?
I know that ACA was going to be stepping into that space yesterday, so I'll be double checking that. So thanks very much for that, and just to make sure that they've been covered off. But that's usually the case, but we'll definitely follow that up, both with OESA and also the Catholic Schools Association as well. So thanks for that call out, and we'll make sure that they've well and truly got the message. Thank you.
Perfect. And the other question that we've got through is from David, just regarding some strategies to allow regional vehicle-based tourism operators, so 4x4 tours, bike shuttles, and all those different things to operators. Currently, they're still banned from taking passengers. So if we've got any update on that, or if we need to take that one on notice and come back to him in the next few days.
I think that's sadly something that we'll take on notice, and come back on that one. What I know that Victoria Tourism Industry Council's doing quite a lot of work around that, and they've got a gent in there, Chris Porter, who's sort of the two I see from how I read it under Felicia Mariani, who's the CEO, who's been doing some work around those types of transport type operators. So if you do have, what I might do is, who again was that, Luke? And I might come back to them.
That was David Chitty.
Yeah, great. Okay. So, David, I'll come back to you on that. And what we'll likely do is, I'm sure there'll be another bulletin coming out in the next, week, 10 days as well. And I'll let everyone else know how that goes. So we can understand that a bit more and see what we need to do to support any work on that. So thanks, David, for that. Okay, Luke.
Yeah, that was all. That was all the questions through so far. I'm also just pasting the link to the Friday afternoon happy hour for Outdoors New South Wales into the chat. So if you're interested in that, the link will be there in the chat for you as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And what we might do, if Jared, if you're okay to go, we might welcome Jared Parsons from Parks Victoria, who's kindly joined us today to give a bit of an update on what's happening in the Parks estate. So welcome, Jared.
No worries. Thank you, everyone. Just really quickly on COVID, obviously Melbourne's still in lockdown, so we've still got major restrictions across all of Melbourne's parks. But with regional Victoria opening up, we've definitely got a lot of people coming back into our parks, which is great to see. At the moment, you can take up to 10 people outdoors. So that's obviously going to have a little bit of an impost on licensed tour operators, but it's still, at least we can get out there, which is really good. It was good to see school camps coming back. We're pretty happy about that for regional areas. And just with the restrictions restrictions. Like, there's still a couple of areas across regional Victoria that aren't actually open yet. And it's mainly things like Barking Caves. The reserve itself is open, but the caves are not. And so that applies also to Princess Margaret Rose Caves and the State Coal Mine. And we've got places like King Lake. The Masons Falls area actually falls into the metro zone, so that's actually closed, but the rest of the park is open. So there's a few things like that. I should just encourage you to check the park details on the website before you go anywhere, just to make sure things are open. From a camping point of view, camping's back open for regional Victoria, so that we've basically been able to open it for most areas, and we've got our bookings currently open both for roofed accommodation and for camping. The camping side of things, the accommodation's actually just capped at a 60% capacity of normal, just so that we can sort of help manage some of that physical distancing side of things. But that's all sort of opening up, which is great to see. Our Junior Ranger program is actually running online this school holidays, which started this week. So hopefully, if you've got kids, you've already heard about that. There were a few questions from last time that we didn't get back to you on just yet. So I've got a couple of answers for those for you now. There was a question around how Parks Victoria is helping sort of stimulate businesses post-tourism restrictions. So the main things that we're doing at the moment are license fee waivers and also visitation fee waivers for this year. And so that's all currently in place. If you're a licensed tour operator and you haven't already applied for that, you actually have to send an email to our payments or finance people. But it's payments@parks.vic.gov.au. They can help process that so you don't get any invoices at the end of this year. We're also, I mentioned a couple of months ago, we're working on some promotional videos for licensed tour operators, and that's really about generating I guess, interest in making some bookings. So that's all still progressing. We had a few hiccups with not being able to get out and film because of the restrictions, which were a little bit tighter than we were anticipating, but yeah, that's still progressing. We've actually been able to source quite a lot of video footage that already existed. So that's well and truly on its way. And we also, we're in the process of upgrading the website or a page on the website that talks about licensed tour operators and giving a bit of a better breakdown, a better customer kind of experience so that they can actually find an LTO, because the current list is a bit difficult to navigate unless you really know what you're looking for and have a bit of patience. So we'll fix that. There was a question around how to make sure you're receiving the right updates for your license. So if you're an LTO, you can log into our Park Connect portal and update your details in there. I'd highly encourage LTOs that are online just to actually do that, because we actually need the current information on the website when we launch the videos to make sure that people can connect through to you. There was a question around Parks Victoria still processing new licenses. Yes, we are. If it's a license that's in a restricted area, it might not start till when the restrictions are lifted, but we are still processing those. There was a question around Warburton mountain biking. That project is actually led by Yarra Ranges Council. So there's a website called rideyarrarangers.com.au. So that's got all the latest information on there. So it's probably best to jump on there and sign up for the updates that come through there if you're interested in that one. Grampians Peaks Trail is progressing really well. We're still on track for opening in summer 2021, which is not too far away. We've had some community information sessions running, which have been really well attended and lots of interest there. And things are, yeah, as I said, they're going really well. I've got a licensed tour operator session, which will come hopefully next month, which will get into a bit more of the detail for licensed tour operators and how that works for them, and some of the pricing around some of the huts in the northern section that they'll be able to access. But yeah, it's been really good sort of seeing that kind of evolve, and we can probably in the next month or so probably give you a bit of a detailed information session on that one if you're interested. Mount Buffalo, there was a question around the EcoPods announcement. It's really early stages at the moment for that one. So there's not a lot of detail we can give you other than what was in the media release that the Premier put out. Yeah, I think it's just one of those kind of, it's a bit too soon kind of things, but as that project progresses, we'll keep you informed on that one. And the only other thing I was just going to mention just quickly was the bushfire recovery There's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes, which we, I guess, keep pushing to get things open again. So Buchan Caves Reserve, there were 2 bridges that were burnt down. They've now been rebuilt and the reserve is open. As I mentioned before, the caves are still closed because of the restrictions around COVID, but pretty much everything else there is right to go. Cape Conarin, there's a lot of work being done in the day visitor area, especially getting some temporary facilities in place so that we've got camping in the next couple of weeks. And I think there's actually some camping now, if my information is correct. We've just replaced the Salmon Rocks Boardwalk, which is really good. And we're also looking at a longer term plan for Cape Conarin to, I guess, put that, build it back better kind of concepts into action. There's lots of work going along the Croajingolong coast. There's lots of facilities and camping areas and things like that being updated, and we're hoping to have open for about now, which are mostly in progress and underway. Mallacoota, there's been works to reinstate jetties, toilets and other facilities, which is going really well. There's a work blitz that's just about to commence in the northeast area. And then Thurrough Bridge, it's probably one of the bigger issues we've got at the moment, where the bridge is going to take a bit of time to get back up online. So there's works to sort of get that in place as soon as we can, but it's going to be at least 12 months from what we can tell. And then on top of that, there's all the usual conservation and biodiversity works underway, and there's been some community information sessions. So hopefully, if you live in that area, you will have seen 1 or 2 of those already. So yeah, there's quite a bit happening, and hopefully it's a very quick snapshot, but hopefully there's something in there that is of interest.
Thanks so much for being here, Jared. And I think you've probably generated a couple of extra questions. I see that Dave Chitty's got his hand up. So, David, would you like to ask a question of Jared?
I forgot to take it down from when I was wanting to talk about Laurie's Friday evening, but I do have a question. How is Parks placed for reopening in a more limited way if we go back through the steps? Reducing the number of people that operators can have, things like that. We probably need, hopefully it doesn't happen, we probably need to plan just in case we move back through to more restrictions, but still operate with lesser numbers.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's been one of those things where I think it's evolved and changed so much, and it happens at such short notice a lot of the time that it's very difficult to plan for. I know, even just talking to some of the other agencies, they're really struggling to work through, plans, because as soon as you got your plan in place, it's changed again. But yeah, so I think, we're sort of trying to just work with it as best we can, and hopefully provide as current information as we can when we get it. But yeah, there's not much more I can sort of add to that, unfortunately.
Thanks, Jared. Luke, have we got anything else there for Jared?
Yeah, so just going through specific to Jared. So we've just got one question just come through. Parks Vic website states dispersed camping is allowed in regional Victoria in groups of no more than 10. That is different to the DHHS guidance around accommodation only in household bubbles. So that's really the only question that's come through specific for Jared at this stage.
Yeah, so that the advice we've got on our website at the moment is based on information we've been provided through DHHS. So I can double check that, but as far as I know, that's correct. So and that's remote camping as well. It's out in the sticks kind of stuff. So I think with all the campgrounds opening too, like this, we've got camping in places like Wilson's Prom, and there's more than 10 people in those areas, but it's not sort of confined. So there's definitely some, I guess, interpretation around some of that. But yeah, that's the current information that we have. So
perfect, thank you. And that's it specifically for you at this stage.
Cool.
I've got one for you, Jared. Just around the promotion of the LTOs and sort of working up that particular project. I know that we've had a couple of bumps in the road because of filming and everything else being a challenge. But what's sort of your rough ETA on the launch of that, so that we can start to help you and other peaks can too?
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's November. It's still a little bit up in the air at the moment because we've got to do some filming and trying to get the logistics of that sorted out is going to be interesting, especially if the restrictions don't lift as soon as we'd like them to. We've got it's actually progressed quite a bit already in terms of, we've been able to grab a lot of footage. It's roughly, look, I've seen some shorts of what's coming together. So there's definitely a lot of really good progress there. It's just, I think, where the gaps are in our footage. Like, for example, there's not a lot of water-based activity at the moment. So things like, rowing on the Yarra, all those kind of activities, we need to get out and do some of that kind of filming, which is a little bit hard with the current Melbourne restrictions. So yeah, we'll keep sort of pushing that. If we can get it through November, with the website side of it, I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of this month, if not early next month. So that part of it will be ready to go even prior to the videos being released. But yeah, November, I think it'd be, if we can keep it on track, the timing that we'll put those videos out. So there'll be, I guess, one video that's probably a couple of minutes long, which will be kind of almost like a summary of, all activities across the state. And it won't have everything in there. It'll just be a bit of a snapshot. And then we'll have a couple of shorter kind of, something that's focused on adventure, something that's focused on waterways, something that's focused on hiking and walking type stuff. And just a couple of those kind of themes to be able to sort of split it off and rather than just having one video, to be able to sort of repeat it a few times without using the same video. So yeah, definitely keen to chat when we're ready for that. And yeah, if I can get it out by November, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, Jared, that's great. Yeah, just as things happen and get closer, yeah, definitely keep us in the loop, and
yeah,
we'll do the very best to be able to get it out to as many people as possible. Is it from a high level strategy perspective, are you looking at any particular touch points in regards to media or a particular event or whatever else to be able to promote it?
We're primarily looking through our social media and then through our tourism contacts and sort of trying to push it out as best we can through those. There's definitely, from the media side of things, we're still looking at what that looks like and how we actually do that. And there's online magazines like Time Out and a few of those kind of things that we'll definitely try and hit, because they've been quite good at getting I guess awareness out of some of the fringe parks that people maybe didn't know about, and places like Werribee Gorge is probably a good example where the visitation there is going through the roof pre-COVID, just because those kind of publications are creating quite a lot of awareness. So so if we can tap into a few of those, that'd be great. But yeah, I think we're still quite open to any suggestions that anybody has, and if there's places that we think that are really good to target, then we'll definitely do that. So
yep, no worries. Yep, we'll keep in the loop, and I'm sure a number of participants on the call get in contact with me with any fantastic ideas and everything else that we can share. So thank you, Jared, for that.
No worries.
We've just got a couple more questions just come through for Jared right at the end, just when you thought you were through. So just regarding, so as we reopen parks, David said there's probably more likely to be an increase of number of unlicensed operators or operators that don't necessarily require with the AAAS and everything to try and increase profits. And just wondering, does Parks Vic have any sort of strategies in place to potentially deal with this increase?
Yeah, so we've got there's compliance teams around the state that will look at that, and rangers will obviously be out on patrol. There is one thing that you guys can do if you see somebody that you suspect is not a licensed tour operator. Definitely send us an email and with as much details as you can, like number plates and where they were, what time they were there, all that sort of stuff, and we'll follow it up from our end as well. But it is a tricky one because as soon as they see a ranger, they tend to duck and hide. So we'll keep sort of working through those challenges, and it's a constant issue that we'll keep working on, I think. But yeah, it's a challenge, and I think one of the things that hopefully with the license fees being waived at the moment, hopefully it's a bit easier for people to actually get their license and come in through that. But the other thing is, I think maybe when the restrictions are fully lifted, it won't be quite so much the case. But at the moment, I think a lot of people seem to be just going out on their own without sort of looking through anybody. They're just sort of going out and doing a walk in the park type thing on their own. So I don't know how much business they'll generate in the short term without having had I guess a bit of history to work with the public. So it'll be interesting to see what impact that has, having not been able to operate for quite a few months.
I wondered too, Jared, if that could be part of the Support Your LTO campaign.
Yeah.
You know, there must be some kind of certificate or whatever else that they can demonstrate that they're a current licensed tour operator.
Yeah, and part of the messaging in that video will be around the benefits of using an LTO, and it's things like, obviously, you know, they're insured and they've got local expertise and all those kind of things. But I think, like, we really want to reinforce those messages that, you know, the licensed tour operator is really the best option. So, and hopefully that'll discourage, in framing it in a positive sense, like it'll hopefully discourage people from using unlicensed operators. So.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you.
And the only other question was that someone contacted DHHS yesterday, who advised them that it was the sort of household bubble being applied to the groups, as they were trying to get in a Duke of Ed group into their facility sort of in the next week. And they said that was not able to because of the household bubble being applied.
Yeah, I'll get some confirmation of that one, because, yeah, the information on our website's what we've been advised, but yeah, I'll find out.
Perfect, thank you very much. And that seems to be it at this stage. If there's any other questions, feel free to pop them in chat. It may have potentially got lost, but from my sort of quick over glance, it looks like that was all of them regarding for you, Jared, at this stage.
Cool.
Thanks, Jared, very much for joining us. We always appreciate having someone from Parks Vic represented. So, you know, I'm sure everyone on the call appreciates this. We've got quite a number of people this time. I think we had 60 or 70 last time. We've still done pretty well with the number of participants and the number of questions. So thanks, Jared, for continuing to support us, and we can support you in all kinds of ways back. So thank you.
No worries.
What I might do, Luke, if you're okay with this, is potentially introduce Jamie Bennett, who's the EO of Outdoors WA, who's kindly joined us, just to give us a little bit of understanding on what's going on over there. Jamie, you are likely aware of, we've had a little bit of positive news yesterday with all of regional Victoria being permitted by the Education Minister to, when they return to school on the 5th of October, that they can technically go on camp from that day. And so it's likely indicates some decent precedent that the 5 million people in lockdown in Victoria, in Greater Melbourne, will then be able to do the same. So a bit of precedent hopefully there, and that potentially could be as early as early October or maybe middle of October from what's been indicated at the moment. Without further ado, Jamie, if you'd like to take the stage and just give us an update on what's going on WA, and hopefully there's some learnings for us. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. That's fantastic news, mate. To hear that that's finally coming through. I can say from here in the West that we have been watching from the West Coast and seen a number of the media articles and press that's come through from yourself and from Laurie and the crew over in New South Wales, ACT. We knew from our position here that when the Australian Health Protectorate Committee, which people may know gives advice to the National Cabinet, changed their stance around boarding and camp accommodation, that the opportunity was there, should COVID numbers come down, to be able to recommence school camps. So certainly for Western Australia, that's been the case, and it has been for a number of months now, that the hard border that everyone's talking about and the COVID low numbers here, certainly we haven't seen anything in the community for many months now, has meant that schools were able to return. The most solid piece being for us was the ability to book programs in Term 3 and Term 4. And so it's been a fairly optimistic outlook. I must say that we're still in phase 4. It's had a number of extensions. So for us, that means that The common hygiene and distancing measures are there, but we're down to a 2 square metre rule within camp facilities. So that has enabled a range of programs to continue, and optimistically for camps and outdoor education style programs and outdoor recreation programs to continue as well. On the positive from that, it has meant that a significant number of tourism businesses have also enabled their operations to continue, but I'm sure that pretty much similar to the rest of the country, that many of the tourism businesses, adventure tourism businesses, are positioned around the visitor economy. So pivoting has been a challenge. Some of them have been able to do that. So pivoting across to the state-based market, and they're doing that for survival. In terms of that, from Western Australia, we've just launched a new campaign called Wander Out Yonder, from Tourism WA, and that's really around driving that sort of connection for West Australians to get out and to have a look at Western Australia as a great big state, and travel all over. And we can certainly say that the grey nomads and many people are now taking up their holiday opportunities to go out and see parts of Western Australia that they haven't seen before. Just yesterday, part of that initiative was 10,000 $100 vouchers that would go towards tour packages, because one of the areas that people have found is that whilst Aussies are used to going out and visiting somewhere, we're not so great on taking up a tour. Some of it due to the cost structure that's involved there, but we just think, we can do it all ourselves anyway. And so to incentivise around that, they gave away 10,000 $100 vouchers, and those $100 vouchers will need to be spent through the tourism system. So you would have to be a provider that's registered with a local tourism organisation. Those were snapped up in less than an hour. So hopefully over the next couple of months, those programs need to be taken up, I think before the end of the year. So we should see a number of people that are continuing to get up and about and get outdoors as part of that tour initiative. So that's pretty exciting. But it's not without its challenges.
Just a question, Jamie. So what department was that was pumping out those vouchers?
Yeah, so the Minister for Tourism made that announcement. So, and that'd be through Tourism WA.
Yeah, thank you.
And some of the other, I guess, initiatives, and this is in the recovery cycle for where WA sees itself. We've had over $20 million worth of additional investment into tracks and trails that will go into our Great Southern region. And we've seen an expansion of investment into a number of cycling trails as well. So we can see that. We know in terms of having infrastructure ready, trails are one of the areas where you can invest for a lower threshold, but start to get some significant works underway. You can get people out cutting trail and getting those things underway in terms of investment, creating jobs, and also getting the community out healthy and participating. It's not without its pain. We've just the government 2 weeks ago cancelled our Royal Show that normally happens in October. So that's a big disappointment to the community in general. But it is a sign that there's still great concern in terms of increasing the number of people returning back into Western Australia internationally. And the concern is, I guess, significantly that if one of the quarantine points breaks out, that we'll see that community spread elsewhere. And I would certainly say that WA, probably like most states, has increased their awareness and alertiveness in watching some of the challenges that Victoria is facing.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. That's wonderful. Luke, I might just go to you for a minute just to see if there's anything for Jamie at this stage.
Not necessarily, just some general sort of general chat, but nothing, I suppose, specific to Jamie at this stage.
Jamie, it's great to have you on board. and it actually just prompted me to bring up with everyone that we have proposed a voucher system, especially for families. There's going to be tens of thousands of families across Victoria that in the big school holidays won't have the money to go on holiday. And so potentially there could be some extra business for a whole lot of activity providers and camps if the government availed some voucher system like what Jamie just brought up for families, because there'll be a lot of parents that either don't have the money or they need to, as we come out of lockdown in Victoria, get well and truly back to work and won't be able to take that time off. So just as a bit of an FYI for everyone, but that was a great bit of information, Jamie, too, around the tracks and trails and the 2 square metre rule.
Yeah, I guess I was just going to say the other thing that we're adapting to is increasing event numbers. So the government released last week a policy position on events more than 500 that need specific approvals in terms of the State Health Officer to approve large events, but the government's keen for those to get back underway, like I guess music concerts and similar under tighter restrictions. So for us, that's it's a little bit that we're changing to adapting, I guess, to some of the other states' policies. So I know that Queensland has some very specific industry policies for events and other industries. From our state, it hasn't been that stringent, but I think that they're looking at what's happening elsewhere and making those adaptations. And I'm sure that that's the challenge going ahead, is continually adapting to the differing environments. We're seeing our phase 4 has been extended a number of times. And so, at the moment, we're happy that it's hopefully we'll go to phase 5 within a couple of months, but we'll see.
And Jamie, is that phase 5? Is that sort of, I hate using this word, but is that the COVID normal? That's sort of as far as you go when we've still got COVID in the community?
Yeah, I think so. It will be. The phase 5 for us, phase 6 is fully open borders, and phase 5 still involves a hard border with a number of states, dependent upon the COVID positioning, I guess, in our community and elsewhere. So the key part for us would be the removal of hard restrictions around numbers within venues, which are in place at the moment. So, that would be it.
Okay, Jamie, that's interesting that you've still potentially got maybe another couple of months until you get to phase 5, and then phase 6 is when you have the open borders for everyone. So with phase 5, have they reserved the right for particular states being able to be open up to them? Or is phase 6 the first phase where you actually get the borders open and just for every border? Yeah,
I think each of the phases, I guess its definition has changed as it's come in, Andrew. So, and that's, I think early broadcasting is we might see this type of change. But then when it comes down to it, you really have to, certainly it's been the case, that you really have to look at the modifications to the Emergency Health Act to actually then find out what the specifics in terms of the determination. From the broader environment here, the government is seeking to look at ways in which it can open up both participation within the community and drive the economy without having any negative health implications and the fallout, both in terms of health and impacts on the community. So gradually, I guess the fallback position is to extend existing phase challenges or the rules or guidance around existing phases, rather than jump forward into a new phase or have concerns that you might have to go backwards. So certainly it's positive, it's fairly optimistic here, and I can certainly say that being in a state that has that optimism has meant that it's positive for the community participation. So we're seeing a rise in the number of people getting outdoors. independently, which is fantastic. I must say that does have its challenges. So for land managers, whether in state and local government, there's a lot more people out there participating that actually have no idea on what we'd call common practices in terms of minimal impact and managing the environment or themselves. And so that has its own challenges within itself. So an example of that is, increased rubbish that's being left at easily accessible areas. And also we've had 3 deaths in 3 days up at Mount Augustus in the north, basically through dehydration, people not aware of their own limitations. And so, that is a concern where it's fantastic we've got more people out there, but certainly on the ground there needs to be some increased vigilance in that space.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks very much for being here today. It's wonderful to have you with us and spend some time with all of us. We had Laurie catch up with us before, so it's wonderful to hear from you as well. And
we're all in it together, mate.
Yeah, that's right. We are, and I acknowledge that right at the start, that we've had a whole lot of teamwork going on through Outdoor Council of Australia and the state peaks in particular as well. One thing, Jamie, we might thank you now and just check in with Luke, if that's okay, to see if there's any questions for Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Nothing specifically come through for you at this stage, just some more general questions from sort of some concepts we spoke about earlier, Andrew.
Well, thank you, Jamie. We might let you relax and stand down and enjoy the conversation for the next couple of minutes.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. So, Luke, if you'd like to share us maybe some of those queries, and we'll see if we can get some answers.
Yeah, so there's just sort of been some general conversation around schools cancelling bookings for term 4 and the timing of when schools go back, how long we've got to actually get bookings, and then some further conversation regarding terms and conditions and potentially looking at not having them as prohibitive with last minute cancellations. And so there's been some sort of good conversation occurring regarding those T's and C's. And other than that, the main question that we do have is from David Gemmell. Sorry if I've said your name completely wrong. So I'll pass it over to you, David. And if you want to say your question, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Yeah, it's Gemmell, but I get that all the time. It's no problem. Yeah, look, this is unrelated to COVID, but probably will have an impact or one of those kind of consequential impacts. And it's around daily rates and hourly rates for casuals. I know that there's been a lot of issues in other industries like the restaurant industry, hotel industry, where casual employees have been found to be underpaid for years and years and years. And as an independent school, we've actually started doing a big check on our daily rates. And we found that our daily rates probably 5 years ago were okay, in that we were paying the minimum wage if you calculated it hourly, but now we're not, or we're really close to, depending on the day. And so I'm a bit concerned that if we start flicking to an hourly rate instead of the industry standard daily rate as schools, that's going to flow on to external providers and camps. And all of a sudden it's going to become cost prohibitive to everybody to run because your hourly rate with penalty rates and all that kind of stuff is going to become, $450 to $600 a day as minimum. And so I guess my question is, and I typed it out really nicely. I'm going to read it back again. Is this on anyone else's radar? And, apart from an EBA, which has to be better than the minimum wage, according to the award, is there anything that we can do as an industry? I know Queensland's got an Outdoor Leaders Award and Victoria doesn't, but that might not be the answer. I just don't want us to be the next restaurant industry that goes under the microscope for fair work and gets hammered with underpayment.
I can speak to that a little bit of where some of the discussions are anyway. Certainly that's been there's been discussions around with Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. I'm nearly in New South Wales, and also with Andrew down in here about paying conditions, training. You know, if we're going to expect people to be qualified, we've got to pay them better. I think it will take time. Currently, I think it's the Miscellaneous Workers Award is what the general outdoor leader, but it doesn't pay particularly well. But that's sort of the guide, I think, as far as the Fair Work Commission is concerned. Schools often use, they pay as not a teacher, a teacher's aide. Yeah, they may well pay as a teacher's aide, but then a teacher's aide isn't supposed to be a leader, for instance. So there's quite a lot of stuff I think's got to be done around it. I mean, we're still paying around a couple of $100 a day in many cases in our industry, which for people that are running fairly serious activities, and I think that's something we really need to get onto.
Yeah, schools have, like, I know a lot of schools have just 2 awards they can pay under. So you've either got the teacher's award, which is really specific and doesn't really have much about hours worked. And then you've got the general staff award, which is really kind of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for normal hours, and then up to 38 hours a week. Well, if you're running a journey-based program, 38 hours a week is your first 3 days. And then after that, it's penalty rates and then double time. So it really brings it from, you know, being able to run 5, 6, 10, 30-day programs down to 3-day programs without penalty rates. So it's pretty scary if you calculate it as an hourly, or I'm scared anyway. But I just wanted to know if there was, you know, other conversations happening, if, you know, if ACA or Outdoors Victoria were aware of this and working on it. Dave, it sounds like, you know, there is a bit of a side committee going on, which would be fantastic.
Yes, I think it's been bypassed a bit too by what's happened with the bushfires starting way back in sort of October in Queensland, and then raging all the way on right across basically every single state in Australia, then leading into COVID. So it has been bubbling around for a while, and we were, as the Outdoor Council of Australia, we were getting close to organising a summit on the future of the outdoors sector, and potentially getting maybe the top 100 that are able to devote some time to travel to a particular location to work on this. And that would be one of the items is around industrial relations. So I think there's to me, it's a whole ecosystem piece of accreditation, training, identifying career paths more formally, having a whole lot of teamwork between different employers that might employ someone in winter and someone else in summer in another state or whatever else. So there's some to me, there's a whole lot of teamwork that could come out of the back of COVID, where we decide to grow up as an industry. And, you know, good people like David are people that we can sort of refer to around what's happened in the past. We can refer to other countries as to what they do. And then it all comes back around to, if it's going to all cost more and it's going to, we need to pay people more to make sure we're getting enough personnel in industry who also want to stay. And then it's about how do we market our sector. I mean, a classic one was, I remember going on a Swiss cable car once up to one of the big mountains, and went to pay for the admission. It was double what it was in Italy. And the attendant taking tickets said, "Oh yeah, it's double because after 20 years we sell our cables that take the cable car up to Italy." And so therefore, you know, you pay for quality, and that's the type of marketing that we need to do for our particular sector. If you're going to come with us in Australia, it's going to be at a premium, but you're going to get a premium service, experience, and that type of thing. So I think it's that whole ecosystem positive cycle that we need to create, not just address one particular thing. So thanks, David, for bringing it up today, and we'll definitely keep this as something that we keep checking in on. I came across the top of David Chitty, so I apologise.
Sorry, Andrew. Can I comment on this?
Yep, go for it.
We've got a massive issue in this sector in that people last in it for 5 years. It's broken, and that wages is the cornerstone of that. In that, you know, as David said, there's still employers out there paying $100 a day, or the most recent one I heard was at horse trail rides at $130 a day, and our graduates can get a teaching degree and should be on the baseline of $350 a day of a CRT teacher, whether it's with a Cert 4 or a diploma or whatever it is. The wages in the outdoors are the problem in the issue. People last 5 years and move on. We lose all of our intellectual property, all the training, all the experience, and our best leaders. And we lose them to emergency services, and we lose them to teaching, as we should, or to trades. And we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And the very, very quick and simple solution, David, is pay people more and shorten your program by a day. Problem solved. You or me or all of the providers out there and competitors are all running glossy brochures and pushing the biggest, longest, best program and paying people less. And it's a real issue, and we need to do something about it. Pay in the outdoors is an ongoing issue, and we need to have really open discussions about it. We need to do something about it. So for me, the benchmark should be teachers' wages. As you say, what's demanded of an outdoor leader out there during the day and overnight reflects the skill set of a teacher. As David Chitty said, there are sections in the agreements and awards for schools to unpack that and go into that. There's the highest daily rates or hourly rates, but there's solutions out there in those agreements, and getting good industrial advice is what we should be doing, and we should be referring to what a teacher can earn, particularly when you're working with kids. That's a pretty basic benchmark because there's kids and you're teaching them. So there's benchmarks for us to work off and improve the conditions for everyone, and then we'll have our best staff staying in the sector for longer, which is what we want. Those people who are really good, who are really motivated, who are highly skilled and highly experienced, and therefore have the best risk management sort of skills and techniques. We want to keep them and retain them rather than have them go off and drive an ambulance or a fire truck. So yeah, it's one I'm ready to discuss more about it, Andrew. Whenever we get the summit going.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I think then that's why it's great to be able to connect with everyone on calls like this. So yeah. David, thanks very much. That's noted, as is David Gemmell's quiz and comments. There's some great people on here today. So, you know, potentially there's a bit of a core of what we need to do. Because I think that's the next thing that we need to tackle after COVID, as it sort of finishes up. And as I said, I think it's about that whole ecosystem, but we definitely don't want to do 1 minute of work and one bit of effort in an area that isn't going to be an efficient use of our time. As you say, if there's already some guidelines in place that we need to adopt, that's the way that we need to go, rather than recreating a whole new award or whatever else. So thanks everyone for your comments there, and yeah, duly noted, and we'll definitely have that as a standing item. So thank you. Luke, have we got any other pieces? Because I know that we've now gone over time, which is wonderful that we've still got a number of people here, but just wanted to check in if there's anything else we need to address.
Yeah, so just some sort of general comments, but just an update regarding Simon's question earlier from Jared Parsons. So it was just saying that when you look at the DHHS website, it talks about camping and camping with people that you're in a bubble with. So there's a copy and paste off the website that's in the chat if you want to have a look at that further. But it just provides a little bit more of a breakdown of those 10 people, where can they come from, and the fact that it's your family, and then also your bubble household that has been spoken about in the past. Other than that, nothing specific sort of moving forward, just some really good conversations occurring.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And I think, you know, this Sunday with the Premier could be really interesting for everyone, I think, to monitor that particular announcement. Hopefully it's a whole lot of good news about what we might be able to do in regional areas, as well as what's happening with Greater Melbourne. Thanks very, very much for everyone today. I see that there's still some chat bubbles coming up, so grab a couple of them if you need to copy and paste them out. We'll also send around, probably be very early next week, the session today for everyone who registered, because we did have 35 registered today, which is sort of more of an irregular number for us. So that'll go out to those people that have been caught up. But thanks very much, Jamie, for joining us. I know that I think Jared headed off before from PV, and also Laurie from Outdoors New South Wales. It's great to have those great people involved, and really fantastic to have. I can't believe that there was 3 Davids that had a chat to us. So we'll look forward to catching up with you next time. It's been a really, really wonderful session, and great to be able to get into some detail on what's next for us. Really, really passionate about looking after the long-term career paths of all the people in our industry. So thanks very much for joining us today, and we'll catch up with you again soon. And thanks again, Jamie. It's great to see you from WA. Thank you, Luke, for all your help today as well.
No worries. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, and all the very, very best. And let's hope we continue to open up and get going again. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.